Marine shipping is vital to the global economy, but it is a volatile industry that must deal with environmental and fuel economy demands. Finnish ship and power plant engine maker Wärtsilä is stepping up the competition as it adds its new X-generation marine diesel engine to the offerings. I'm Carmen Roberts reporting for Professional Mariner magazine and professionalmariner.com. Joining me at the NASDAQ market site to talk about the marine shipping industry is Wärtsilä CEO Bjorn Rosengren and John Hatley, head of ship power for Wärtsilä Americas. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
There are a lot of factors that influence the design of marine engines. Can you tell me what some of those are and how maybe the industry is changing?
I think the maritime industry is changing, very much driven by environmental legislations as well as the drive for more energy efficiency. And this is, of course, affecting us in the way we design the engines. So energy efficiency is important, durability of the engines, but also the possibility to run the engines on gas. And we in Wärtsilä are using what we call dual fuel. So maybe John can fill in a little bit there.
Yeah, dual fuel is an important item for many operators, and the flexibility it offers to run on a traditional fuel when outside of an emission control area. As a vessel moves towards populated coastal areas where emissions are a very sensitive issue, they can switch to clean natural gas or go to the ultra-low sulfur compliant distillate. It gives the owner the option to move forward as the best business case while observing the social values.
Certainly, I think of California when I think of high emission standards, so that would come into play in something like that.
Yes, for sure.
So what do you think the advances are that are driving your industry? Which ones are the most important?
Well, I think this environmental legislation and this efficiency, as I mentioned, this fuel is really the drivers. And I think with these greenhouse gases, we all want to reduce them, make that we need to have more efficient engines today. So I think a lot of the technical focus there. But lately, coming back to what John also said on these so-called emission control areas, which already 2015 will be, and US is involved in this in some part of Europe. And in these areas, it's going to be extremely important that you reduces your sulfur in the exhaust as well as the NOx. And here gas has a great advantage. So we feel that this so-called flexibility, fuel flexibility is important also in the design of the engines in the future.
Well, that was exactly my next question, is how much is LNG going to play as a major role in your industry?
You know, LNG is becoming interesting, as I mentioned, two reasons. One part is the environmental legislations and the fulfillment of them by using LNG. But the other thing is the amount of LNG or gas available. And very much has been driven here in US where the shale gas, which has really affected the price of the LNG. And today it is affordable to run with LNG as well as you comply with these environmental legislations. So we feel that the industry is actually moving in towards that direction.
Do you
In a
agree,
practical
John?
market way, we see that exhibited with owners who not too long ago were saying, gas looks great, but where's my source of supply, my security of pricing? So Wärtsilä has moved forward with some great partners to bring certainty to the gas supply. Now it's no longer a chicken the egg situation, but it's more of a chicken omelet, if we may, because certainty on the gas supply is rapidly closing. And that certainly will breed the investment. And then the operators will enjoy a lower cost, available, affordable fuel, which we have an abundance, true abundance in the United States with a couple hundred years of supply. And enjoy at the same time a second win, emissions reduction. So it's a great way forward. And we'll see much of that in the advanced nations that require significant reductions in emissions.
Well, what about engine durability? I mean, you have the issues of emissions control, you have fuel economy performance. How does this all affect? Does it change the durability of the engine?
I think not really. I think it's always been important in the marine sector to have engines that are functioning because your safety on board the ships is really the primary. So I think not really changing these things because of the technology which is driving it. It's giving just more opportunities, I would say. Maybe you have something to add on that, John.
I think that what the owners want to do is carry payload. That's their business. They don't want the risk or the headache of something being not available. So what Wärtsilä can do is provide a complete holistic view of a ship. And with owners, we can work with them through our service organization, provide secure, long-term service agreements so they have the freedom to pursue their payloads and their customers and keep their schedules on time while we make sure all the equipment is running correctly, especially advanced technologies. We have satellite communication through CBM that gives instantaneous, high expert observations of the vessel, which can very much augment, ships' crews, which are already overwhelmed with huge efforts to do from what are very different of even 10 years ago. So we in Wärtsilä can provide a very strong opportunity for the owners to be free to make their profits in the proper fashion and focus on their business.
Right, being able to count that this engine is going to be
This is gonna
reliable, it's
run,
going to be there, I don't
it's
have
gonna
to
be
worry about that.
reliable, and we take care of that.
I can look at my visibility in terms of actual business as far as what am I shipping, who's out there. So.
And I think also Hal, maybe add on, I think it's important that you have a strong service and maintenance organization part. And Wärtsilä has probably the most built out in the world. So we have today in 170 locations around the world, and we have around 8,000 service technicians servicing our engines all around the world, supporting the customers. It also gives a certain amount of reliability to the products.
1 out of 3 ships in the world is powered by us. 1 out of 2 ships is serviced by us. Every other ship. So that is tremendous that the owners receive this kind of expertise all corners of the world, 24/7, from many, many locations.
Let's talk about pricing. You've got increased regulations, you have fuel demands. How is this affecting the pricing of the engines?
I think when you, from a ship owner's side, all of these added legislation will add costs to them. And eventually, I think this will probably affect, the freight costs in the end, because in the end, the shipping companies need to make money. So it is a burden at the moment. And I think from Wärtsilä's perspective, there are different ways of fulfilling all these regulations. And our job is actually to try to support our customers to minimize these costs to fill them. And there we have different solutions. We have the gas engines that can be run, dual fuel engines, both on gas as well as on heavy fuel. But you also have the scrubber technology, if that's the solution you would part. So we like to support them in this way.
And to emphasize what he has said, if you look at the operational pie for an owner, capital expenditure is one of the smaller components. By far, the overwhelming component of all daily operating expenses is fuel.
Energy, exactly.
Fuel can oftentimes be as much as 60% to as little as 40% of an operation's daily operating costs, which overwhelms all the first costs of the investment going forward. So if we can concentrate on efficient vessels that are reliable and keeping on time, and then the choices of fuel based upon understanding the environment, but also what's the best choice, now that 60% cost is being optimized for the owner so he gets his best return on investment. As a partner going forward, we now have more ships, more opportunities.
Do you see the challenges that your industry is facing increasing, or are you it's plateauing?
I think the whole industry is facing challenges today. There are overcapacity, and the freight prices are quite low at the moment, which I think is coming from before the financial crisis. A lot of new vessels were ordered which have been contracted lately. So I think what we're seeing, the help from the world economy a little bit to move on the world trade will help to ease the situation for the owner. But there will be challenges in the next coming years. And of course, these legislations, they will put extra burden onto that. At the same time, I do believe that many of the ship owners also see the importance of making sure that we take care of the environment.
Let's narrow that down just a bit to the Americas, specifically North America. John, since you're head ship for the Americas, do you see the economy and the market for the marine industry improving?
Yes, it's definitely shifting. And what we're seeing is a number of the owners see their costs, particularly on fuel, with alterations coming forward in the market. They want to be more efficient. Let's look at the propulsion system, how we can make the hull more efficient and better as a retrofit. Perhaps look at natural gas engines or go to more modern diesel engines that are more fuel efficient and effective. So the owners are very sensitive to these changes, and we're beginning to see a lot of a long-term trend moving
Can you
forward.
quantify that in any way?
Well, for example, we have Harvey Gulf, a leader in the offshore supply boat industry, that in October announced 2 vessels to run on natural gas, and again in January affirmed that with 2 more. So that's just a quick example of an owner looking at the savings of natural gas and the efficiencies on emission.
Well, we'll leave it there. I wish you continued success, because certainly what you're doing is important to the overall economy, and we will pay close attention to it.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you
us
very much.
today.
Thank you.
So you have just heard from Wärtsilä CEO Bjorn Rosengren and John Hatley. He's the head ship power for Wärtsilä Americas. I'm Carmen Roberts reporting for Professional Mariner Magazine and ProfessionalMariner.com. Thank you for watching.